Hey everyone, welcome to the tribe. Hey, today I would like to talk about the effect shoes might have on your body, the way you move, and on your health. Today I'm with Mick Breen. I'll be interviewing him. Mick Breen is a myotherapist. He's located at CrossFit Soul Rub in Thornbury. He specializes in running technique. He's called a foot nerd, so he knows a lot about movement and rebuilding your feet. And he gives online classes on improving your running technique. Mick, welcome. Did I introduce you well? Was there anything I missed?
Oh, probably the only other thing is soft tissue therapy. So work a lot of injuries, restrictions, all kind of stuff, ailments that people get in everyday life, and help get people moving freely, pain-free, and happier.
I like that. That's a good message. Can you tell me how you started? What's the reason you got into myotherapy? Can you tell me about your past?
Yeah, for sure. So going to myotherapy about 6 years ago now. It was actually after I retired from playing high-level rugby. Had plenty of injuries myself, 3 knee reconstructions in 4 years that kind of ended my career.
Yeah.
And from all the injuries growing up playing rugby, I got a lot of friends who were physios, chiros, osteos, because I was seeing them week in, week out.
Yeah.
Learned a lot more about the body. Always been interested in the body, being a personal trainer for 12 years, sports science degree, and loving sport. Once I retired, I needed to start learning more about the body. So that's how it kind of pushed me into myotherapy.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest passions for me was I worked out that the injuries that I had, mainly the knee injuries, the reconstructions, were preventable. So that, something that could have been prevented, crushed my dream of becoming a professional rugby player.
Yeah.
So what that led me to is I want to know more about the body, learn more about that, so no young athlete has to go through what I went through.
So basically you had an issue and you learned how to target that and help other people out in the future.
Yeah, for sure, because what I've learned over the years being a myotherapist and movement coach is 90% of injuries are preventable and manageable yourself. We've got to look at what people are doing in their everyday lives, and we look at humans today, like the sedentary lifestyle we have, which is so damn common. A lot of people obviously go into the gym being active, but they don't realize how much unactive stuff they're doing outside of the gym.
Yeah.
So what I've learned really recently is it's actually more important what you're doing outside of the gym than you do in the gym. Because for most people, they'll work out, run, train for maybe an hour, 2 if you're lucky a day.
Yeah.
But what are they doing for those other 14, 15, 16 hours that they're awake?
Can you explain about that a little bit more? Go a little bit more in depth in that?
Yeah, so going on from that, you look at most people these days, they do have that sedentary lifestyle where they're stuck at a desk all day long. So your body will adapt to its most common position. So for most people, that is sitting down at the desk, sitting down in the car, wearing crappy shoes. That is just...
What do you mean by crappy shoes? Can you just...
Yeah.
Very short. What do you mean by that?
The modern day shoe in general is very stiff, rigid, normally ill-fitted, and most people are wearing the wrong size shoe. Too much stability, too much cushion, heel raisers. There's too much technology in shoes is the easiest way to say it, and taking away all the natural benefits we have from our amazing piece of machinery that are our feet. So that's me, and just delving more into the benefits of being barefoot and wearing barefoot shoes and getting people moving properly up here in the clinic and also downstairs in the gym. So it really works well together to get people moving pain-free and happy.
Hey, you were saying your daily life has a large effect on your body. That's obvious. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me what happens when you do a lot of sitting? What happens to your moving, to your patterns? What do you see very often?
Yep. So that classic sitting position, we're in a hip flex position.
So knees close to your chest, basically.
Yeah.
For those that don't know the word.
Yeah, for sure. And so the muscles that are working on that, basically called your hip flexors, a lot of people tend to feel they become tight, but it's actually they become weak.
Yeah.
Because you're actually stuck in that position. And when you are sitting in a chair, the chair actually acts like a brace. So when you're sitting down, you're not using your core, you're not using your glutes, there's no blood flow, there's no muscle activation. You are basically just sitting in this big brace, and then you get up and try and do something. The body's got to suddenly go from doing nothing to just walking, which is pretty challenging. So what we see in that is because of that getting kind of stuck in the hip flex position, we lack the ability to get hip extension where the leg is going behind the body. And we need hip extension to walk. We need hip extension to run and do all kinds of movements in the gym, exercise and all that.
Just stand up, for example.
Yeah, so not many people are strong at standing up. And that's where balance really comes in pretty damn important. Like if you can't balance properly just by standing up, later on in life, it's actually the difference between life and death, because a fall for an elderly person can be fatal.
Yeah.
And then we bring it back to, getting stiff from the sedentary lifestyle. We lose that glute function. Most people who go to the gym will be trying to find their glutes in deadlifts, squats, running, you name it. It's very, very hard. It's because we can't access it because of the lack of function of that hip extension. So
what kind of effects does it have? So for someone listening right now, they might be thinking, hey, maybe this is me. What would you notice if you have too much hip flexion? You're working out. What do you feel usually?
I don't think you don't actually feel anything. It's not something I think you become conscious of until someone actually starts looking. But what it can actually do, it makes you start shuffling along as you walk. Most people are walking with a shuffle.
Yeah.
Because then you also add in shoes that tend to have a heel raise, which is then also putting you in a bent over position. So then you've got to bend your knees, you've got to bend your hips, sway your back, sway your head just to get a straight position.
Yeah.
So you add all that in, you're not going to be using your glutes properly. We are a very quad dominant society because of the way we walk.
Quadriceps are the muscles right below your hip. Just to clarify.
Front of your leg there.
Yeah.
Big quads, they tend to take over from the glutes. I mean, we've got big butts for a reason. We evolved as bipedal to come up from 4 legs up to 2.
Bipedal? Can you?
Bipedal, walking, standing.
Yeah.
We evolved from monkeys. They used to be on all 4s, and then we got the glutes coming in, the butts to get us standing up, and that helps propel us forward.
Yeah.
And also to make us become the best running animals in the planet.
I've even heard that we're the best endurance athletes of the whole
Big
animal
time,
kingdom.
It's how we evolved as, back in the hunter-gatherer days. If you couldn't run, you either got eaten or you starved. Because what they did all day, they'd hunt for the prey. And then the way humans evolved, though, we are the only species that sweat. Animals don't sweat.
Why is that? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Because, like you said before, we evolved to be the best endurance runners. But to be an endurance runner, running, all day long in sweltering heat in the middle of Africa, the way they were coming from, and you needed to auto-regulate your body, and that's where sweating evolved. So you would basically run your prey to death because they would overheat, whereas humans could keep going. But now you look at running today, stats say somewhere between 70 and 75% of runners every year get some kind of injury. So we're obviously doing something wrong.
What kind of injuries are you talking about? Because I'm always very interested in patterns, because seeing something happen is but knowing where it comes from is a very big one. Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned that if you have a very sedentary lifestyle, you can't find your glutes as well. Mm-hmm. You are going to have more quad activation. What kind of injuries do you see very often in?
So a lot of runners will pull over tight calves.
Yeah.
And that comes back to the lack of glute function, because we can't get that hip extension. The calves take a lot of the load.
Yeah.
Again, with the calves, our ankles become very stiff because of the shoes we wear.
Yeah.
Like our foot has 33 joints, 26 bones, all kinds of amazing gear in there. But as soon as you put a rigid, stiff shoe in the way, or even just a cushion immobile shoe, it locks up the ankle into one joint. So then what that can do as well is, because you can't move the ankle, the body wants to move. The next port of call of movement is the knee. So we see a lot of knee injuries.
Exactly.
Especially, running in a straight line is not too bad, but if you're sidestepping, especially in footy, that's what happened to me. Sidesteps, glutes weren't there to help me out. Knee just went, try to take over, snap.
So basically what you're saying is a structure doesn't work as well as it should, so secondary structures take over.
Exactly, yeah.
So to just clarify for people listening, you might have an issue with something in your body, but that might not be the cause. It might be something else.
Yeah, so the big thing with the knee that I like to say is it's got the middle child syndrome. It's never its fault. Unless you get direct trauma to the knee, it's normally the foot or the hip,
Yeah.
above and below.
Yeah.
Because if you get someone just to simply balance on one leg, most people are pretty poor at it. 80% of walking is single-legged. 100% of running is single-legged. If you can't simply balance on one leg on a nice flat surface in a very safe environment for at least 1 minute without falling over, you shouldn't be running.
Okay, I like that. Just for 1 second. Did you hear that? I would like you to try once you're done with this podcast. What Mick just said, try for 1 minute, stand on one foot and see if you can balance. Just something you can try at home. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so the balance is so damn important because taking them to running, like, yes, you're not going to cause any damage by trying to balance on one leg on a flat ground, but as soon as you start running, the compressive load that comes into running, especially on hard surfaces as well, if you can't control that landing, ankle's going to take some drama, knee's going to take a lot of the load, hip, lower back, you name it.
Can you talk a little bit more about compressive load? I've heard before that when you're running, the weight of your body is threefolded.
Yes,
so you might be
like that,
100 kilos, so there's going to be 300 kilos on your knee, correct?
Yeah.
And if you sprint, how much are we talking?
I think it's the same sprinting or jogging, but then that's where like they kind of brought in the big cushioned running shoe, which was there to take the load.
Yeah.
Like take the load away from the joints, but it's actually been proving in the studies are showing that there's actually increasing.
Yeah.
Because the best way to think about it is imagine you're skipping with a skipping rope on a nice flat gym surface, and then you go jump through a skipping rope on a crash mat.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn impossible. That's basically what you're doing with a cushion in your shoe.
Yeah.
Because it's just taking the load away. And like we have big Achilles tendons, like the biggest tendon in the body, to help compress that load and spring us forward again.
Yeah.
And then you get into the whole thing of like a lot of people have this been told by some other therapist that you're overpronating for your foot. That's where the arch
is
where the arch kind of comes in.
Yeah.
Like the arch of your foot is designed to roll in.
Yeah.
Most people, it's not really overpronation because it's designed to pronate. It's a lack of control.
Yeah.
Because not many people know that your arches in your feet are created from your glutes.
So there's a connection between the lower part of your foot, like we call that plantaris, right?
Yep.
Plantaris muscle that's connected to your glutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're basically saying that if I'm wearing shoes, it has a major effect on my glutes as well. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. Because what you see with a lot of people who get kind of foot pain, ankle pain, heel pain, you name it, they're given an orthotic or like an arch support or something. So best way to put it, people who call themselves, they have flat feet. So flat feet, you've kind of got an arch collapsed.
Yeah.
And that's just through lack of strength. The easiest way to gain the strength back in the arch is to build the glutes, build up your balance, your single leg stability, because then the body has no choice but to use the proper mechanisms to keep you strong. If you put, an arch support in the way, an orthotic in the way, there's no way that arch will ever be able to pronate again.
Yeah.
So then it's basically this big block in the way, so it's just going to say, all right, you don't need me anymore, I'm going to stop working.
Yeah.
So that's where pain comes from.
Which cascades throughout the whole body.
For sure. And the body will always try and find the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's not the most efficient. Like going back to the whole sitting down, getting all stiff through there, like we kind of get, well, people kind of get strong in sitting down because that's their adapted position. And then they go do something else, they're not strong there because they're never there.
No.
Most people get injured these days in movements that they never train in. So you're trying to do an overhead press in the gym. When are you ever in your everyday life pressing a load overhead?
Never.
Not very at all.
Maybe to open a cupboard, but
exactly, yeah, but it's not very heavy. So then we go to the gym and smash ourselves or load up the wrong way, and then because you don't have that full range of motion for the arm, something else has got to compensate for that. Normally the thoracic, lumbar, and stuff. So
going for the easiest route, as you said, the
Exactly.
strongest position, which is sitting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the body will always go back to what it's adapted to. another good example from the whole sedentary lifestyle is we have this thing called the Dowager's hump. It's this bit of connective tissue that builds up on bottom of your neck, top of your shoulders there.
Never heard of that. Interesting.
No? So the brain basically goes, all right, you're in this head forward position, shoulders rolled forward for an extended period of time, 6 to 8 hours a day for so many years now. I need to build strength in this position to keep us going.
Yeah.
So then it starts laying down connective tissue in that area to keep that area strong for you.
Yeah.
Because your head's so far poking forward that you basically create your own hunchback.
Yeah.
But what doctors now are saying these days is it's irreversible. Now, I don't really agree with that, because if you can now get yourself out of that crappy posture, get yourself out of the sedentary lifestyle, over time, it can be gotten rid of.
But you have to take actions.
Exactly. But the thing is, it's taken 25, maybe 30 plus years to develop.
Yeah.
It may take that time to undevelop.
Yeah.
The thing is, there's no studies that have been around that long to be able to test it.
Costs a lot of money. People don't want to talk about it. Would just rather give you a pill, maybe.
Exactly, yeah. And who wants a big hunchback on their shoulder?
I think nobody.
No.
I think nobody. No.
Yeah. Because that can also relate to bunions in feet.
Bunions?
Bunions, know what a bunion is? No?
So Aussie word?
No. Bunions is when the big toe is pushed in.
Yeah.
And the big toe knuckle joint, the head of the joint, gets pushed outwards. And this comes from...
You call those hammer toes as well, don't you?
Hammer toes are more in the middle toes. This is the bunion is on the big toe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Check.
So it's where you've been wearing ill-fitting shoes where the toe box is too small for the toes to fit into it. They've been squashed in. So you look at mainly women's shoes, heels, they go to a point.
So it's not necessarily only about the cushioning that you're talking about, the stiffness, but it's also about how wide is your shoe.
For sure, yeah. The widest part of our feet should be the tip of our toes. You look at most people's feet these days, barefoot, they're not at all. Because we get measured in shoe shops at our knuckle joints. So then we have to jam our toes into the toe box. And we don't think anything of it to start off with because it's just what we're used to. But over time, bunions will develop. And the problem is most people who get bunions are getting surgery.
Yeah.
So the surgery is then just going to cut off half the bloody joint and apparently fix it. That's just like,
temporarily, not for the long run.
No. It's like going to your doctor, your therapist, and I've got pain in my shoulder. Oh, let's just chop half your shoulder joint off. That should be better. Makes no sense at all. The fit of shoes is so damn important. Like, ideally, you should be able to move every single toe individually. Not many people can. Like, even myself, like I told you before, I can't move my little pinky toe because I wore footy boots for 21 years. And they are just designed to be pointed to a toe to apparently have more control with the ball.
And what happens when you do? So when a person is able to have such a wide foot, what can that person do that a person that has like these scrumped up toes can't? What's the difference?
So having that wider foot, it's just like it's the bottom of our structure. Like, you think of the bottom structure of a big tall building. The wider the base. Look at the pyramid. The wider the base, you can only go as high as wide as the base is. So if it's a small narrow foot, your balance is going to be all over the place. But our big toe is so damn important to the rest of the body, especially the hips, because when that big toe gets pushed in, you can't get full toe extension as you're walking, which then limits that hip extension we were talking about, which will then limit the glute function.
Which is one of the strongest muscles in the body. It keeps you upright. Well, I can imagine what that does
going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so also as well, when that big toe is pushed in, if it's not straight, that arch on the foot will easily overpronate, like we're told, and knee then what we call valgus, where the knee kind of drops in. A lot of knee drama there, and lower back pain because the glute can't control that.
Instability, yeah.
Yeah, all that. So the toes are very, very important to everyday function. It's the way we were designed. But the problem we see with shoes today is, it's more fashion over function.
Hey, and you were talking about how this causes injuries, and of course you don't want injury. That you suffer, you might not sleep as well. But you were talking also about balance and feeling. Can you tell me a little bit more about how better balance could affect your life?
Yeah, well, a lot of the studies are saying that having better balance actually helps your sense of well-being, because the problem we have again in society is we're in a very linear, structured, square, rectangular, boxy world. Offices, you're in a cubicle, or windows all straight, everything's flat, and because we're walking along on flat surfaces all day, carpets, concrete, floorboards, you name it, there's nothing to test our feet, test our balance. 70% of your senses come from your feet. When they're in a cushioned shoe, a high heel shoe,
70% of your sense. You said that right.
70%.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so our feet are screaming to react to the ground.
Yeah.
And if it's just reacting on a flat surface all day long, it's not really testing, it's not challenging the body, so the body gets really weak in those positions. So then when you go for a hike or a long walk over different terrains, your body's absolutely exhausted because it's actually working properly.
Yeah.
That's
that's a good quote.
Yeah, we should be able to walk for days, but we can't because we're just so used to a flat, hard surface.
Basically like rice and chicken every night.
Yeah.
Same thing over and over again.
Exactly, yeah. So you need to challenge the system.
Yeah.
And
I like that. Challenge the system.
Yeah.
It's good.
And it's like a lot of study recently is showing that just balance in general is so important for your well-being, for your fitness, for your health. And again, as you get older, I mean, it's balance, stability through the body is a matter of life and death. If you have a fall when you're a bit older, 60, 70 plus, you may not get back up. You may hit your head, you may smash your pelvis, and it's fatal.
Yeah.
Just from having a lack of balance. And it's something that every single person can work on. Take one foot off the ground and start balancing. Anything can be a balance beam. Just start playing with it, because if you just keep going the way you're going, like sitting in a chair all day long, you're not fighting against gravity, you're not using your muscles, you're not blood flowing, there's no productivity there, you're just stuck in that sedentary lifestyle, and you're slowly just going to stiffen up and fall over is pretty much the thing. So yeah, challenging that balance is so important for so many different things, because it actually, like I said before, it's actually our sixth sense. The only time you're not using balance is when you're laying flat.
Yeah.
And that's normally only when you're sleeping. So having a good sense of balance just brings everything together. Especially if you want to improve your training, if you want to run fast, if you want to lift heavy, if you want to go faster in workouts, work on your balance. The best athletes out there have the best form of balance. Like you look at Roger Federer and that when he's playing tennis, like he just does it with ease because he's got the balance. Lewis Hamilton for Formula One, if he didn't have good balance, he wouldn't have good peripheral vision to drive at those speeds. You can put it like golfers. They don't just completely smack the ball. They have perfect balance, agility. It's just nice.
Power structure. I know power leaks. Your body can adapt very quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. So the coolest thing that I actually did yesterday was like I was playing with a slack line downstairs, and people will notice if they just do any kind of balance to start off with. When you first start, you're shaking all over the place, and most people jump off straight away. But I let it keep going, and then suddenly just poof. My body worked its way out, shoot through the right system to connect together to get that balance.
Just inducing some novelty.
Yeah, it was crazy. Just all that shaking straight away, and then suddenly, boom, brain worked it out, found the balance. Easy.
Yeah.
It was cool. I wish I videoed it.
Hey, just to go back a little bit, you were saying well-being and balance, that there's a very big connection in there. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? It's something I've noticed myself, but I'll let you talk, because I've noticed myself, you do feel a lot better after walking barefoot. Tell me about that.
Yeah, like, need to look a lot more into it, because this is very new, but the whole thing of grounding, earthing, actually feeling the ground with your feet.
Yeah.
Like I say, all the senses are, a lot of senses.
70%.
70%. So when you're feeling the ground, like there's not going to be many people who don't enjoy walking barefoot in grass.
Yeah.
On a nice, dewy morning, and it's a really nice feeling. And as you're walking barefoot, you're actually massaging the feet at the same time.
Free massage.
Pretty much, yeah. Great example. Like a few months back, I went for a big 8-kilometer barefoot hike in the Dandenongs, and what I do most days is I roll at the bottom of the foot with a mobility ball, and it's quite painful.
Yeah.
But after doing an 8-kilometer barefoot walk, it wasn't easy. But for the next week or so, I had no pain on the bottom of the foot. So I was basically working out all the kinks and knots in the bottom of the feet.
Yeah.
And it's just you coming back to human nature. Like the easiest thing to say is you weren't born with shoes on your feet. You know, the feet are designed the way they're designed because that's what they're there for, and connect us to Mother Nature is the best way to think about it. And just having that sense of well-being, just it makes you happier in a way.
No,
Like
I
I don't know the exact science behind it, but there's so much more to it. Like you look at kids when they're growing up, like I obviously don't have kids, but the fight to get kids would put their shoes on, they don't want to.
Yeah.
The first thing they do,
it's very natural for them to walk barefoot. They want to.
Yeah, because why do I want to wrap it up in this coffin-shaped shoe?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. And then, even though like you see a lot of girls who going out in high heels. I mean, don't get me wrong, high heels look good, but as soon as they can, they're thrown off straight away.
Yeah.
They
make you weak, basically, right?
They're not comfortable.
No.
So just reacting to the ground and feeling the ground and being natural is the best thing for you.
Okay, so I think it's very clear what kind of effects it has wearing shoes, having a sedentary lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening right now, you might be thinking, okay, so I now know why I shouldn't and what I maybe should do, but how will you start? What's the first step you would recommend to someone wearing crappy shoes, sitting down a lot, having all these problems that we just talked about? What would you recommend?
First thing to do is become aware of what shoes you are wearing, because the problem that most people have, they worry about what they wear to the gym and what they run in.
Yeah.
Now, you can run perfectly in any pair of shoes. You can lift in any pair of shoes, but the thing is, again, you're only really wearing them for maybe an hour, or two hours tops a day. What are you wearing for the rest of the day?
Yeah.
It's normally your work shoes, your casual shoes, and that's where even for men, casual dress shoes, little heel, real stiff toe. So trying to become aware of what you're wearing throughout the day is the first thing, because that's where you adapt. That's what your foot gets used to.
Yeah,
so
it's the most movement you make.
Yeah, and it's the most time you spend in that shoe. So looking to get more of a barefoot minimalist kind of shoe, just to walk around in is fine. Like you would not buy a barefoot shoe and go running straight away, because it will absolutely destroy your feet and your calves and everything.
So don't do that.
No. So the best thing to look for straight away is a shoe that is wide at the toe box to fit the shoe in, fit the foot in, sorry. Thin on the ground so you can react to the ground. Flexible, and so it moves with your foot. And then, what did I say? Wide, thin, flexible, and flat. Yeah, so no heel raise. There is absolutely no benefit whatsoever to any heel raise in any shoe unless you're a cowboy.
Yeah.
They need to keep their feet in the stirrups. That's the only reason the heel can be beneficial.
Fair enough.
But the thing is, when you do start to transition out of your everyday shoes to a more minimalist style, is you've got to mobilize the foot. You've got to strengthen the foot. So easiest thing is grabbing a lacrosse ball, mobility ball, to roll out the tissue to help it adapt.
So you basically give your body the opportunity to relearn a movement, because
exactly,
it stiffen up in order to control, in order to feel safe, and you have to release that.
Yeah, well, you think how long it's been stiff for, how long you've been wearing these shoes for.
25, 30 years.
Exactly, for some even longer. So it's not going to be an easy transition, and a lot of people don't enjoy being barefoot because it's painful.
Yeah.
So you just got to be careful of the dosage. Like, start tomorrow, go barefoot for 5 minutes. Next day, do 10 minutes. Go off how you feel. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So just by walking in barefoot shoes, you're not going to cause any damage. It's when you start exercising, jumping, running, skipping, that's when you're going to start causing the damage. It's really a minimum 6-month transition to eventually be able to exercise in those shoes. Running, again, is each individual, how hard you work on your mobility, your strength.
Just to recap, you're saying buy shoes that have a wide toe box, that are not stiff, and have very thin layer on which you stand.
Yep.
You're saying release the tissue that is tight, so like the bottom of your foot, your calves, and you're saying try to walk barefoot for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but don't push it because it takes a long time, maybe like 6 months.
Yeah, again, it could take someone a couple of weeks, could take someone a couple of years.
Yeah,
depends how much you want to do it. The best kind of analogy you can put with shoes is with the sun. with our eyes, we wear sunglasses to protect our eyes from the sun.
Yeah.
We don't wear blindfolds. So most shoes these days are blindfolds.
Yeah.
They're taking the senses away from the feet, whereas barefoot shoes, minimalist shoes, are your sunnies for your feet. So you're still protected because it's good 2-3 millimeters thick on the sole, but you can still react to the ground. So that's the biggest thing with shoes for sure. And just start being barefoot as much as you can. Like, why do you need to wear shoes at home?
Yeah, fair point. Maybe wear some socks.
Socks, yeah, you still gotta be careful of the size of socks because if they're too tight, too small, they'll still push the toes together. So one of the best things to do with that is also grab a set of toe spreaders. It's a bit of silicone or something like that just to help spread out the toes to get some movement back in there, because a lot of people have cold feet because the toes are squashed together, which limits the blood flow and the nerve supply.
I was about to say that. If you have cold feet, this is a good tip.
Yeah, for sure.
And what can you do in the gym? So we just talked about what you can do during your normal life, what kind of shoes you could wear, and how you can progressively get better at walking barefoot. But let's say someone is a very fit individual and would like to do something in the gym. What would you recommend?
Well, if you definitely train well in the gym, like just start taking your shoes off to lift. Squats, deadlifts, any kind of lift where you're not really putting a lot of impact on the body. You actually lift more when you're barefoot.
You lift more when you're barefoot.
Ideally, I'm not.
Tell me about it. I know it's true, but
because you can feel the ground more, you react more. Like you can get that big toe going down. You get a lot more stability and torque.
Glute activation.
Yep, glute activation coming from there, and you can feel the ground. Like, can you imagine trying to lift a heavy weight on again, go back to the crash mat analogy. You know, it's not really hard. You're all bouncing all over the place.
On the Bosu ball.
Yeah, basically what it is. Yeah. So having that flat sole where you can create a strong arch. The tripod foot, I like to say, because you've got 3 arches in the foot, one on the top of the foot, one on the inside and outside. Get those 3 points strong, which gets all the right muscles going, especially the glutes. Takes a lot of pressure off the lower back. And yeah, just start lifting that way. Like, put your shoes back on if you're going to be jumping, skipping, running.
Until you're used to actually...
yeah. And then you can start trialing it. You can start pushing it. Like, do just a 20-meter run barefoot. Even before you go for a run or anything, take your shoes off, do 40 meters barefoot to wake up the feet. Get the senses going, get all the muscles and tendons and all that just active.
Is there any kind of maybe isolation work you can do on the soleus, on the plantaris? Any little trick you can use?
There's no trick to it, it's just go barefoot.
Fair enough.
There really is no trick. It's like go off how you feel, and the more you do, obviously, the more you'll love it, and you won't want to put shoes on again.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people look at me strangely when I go to the supermarket.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you get all the looks.
Just for the record, Mick got me to do this. He got me into barefoot walking, and that's the reason why I'm talking to him right now. He changed me for the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you do get funny looks because it's not the norm.
No, you're weird.
And you're weird. You're a bum. You're a bogan.
Yeah.
You can't afford shoes.
Bogan. What's a bogan? For those not Aussie.
The Aussie what? Aussie. What's the equivalent? Like gypsy or like?
We call it tokkie. Back in the Netherlands, we call it a tokkie.
Yeah, okay, that'll do. But the funny other thing is like people say, "Oh, put some shoes on." They smell.
Yeah.
Or like they're dirty. It's like. They only smell because you wear shoes.
Yeah.
They're only dirty because you wear shoes. Like, you go to the supermarket in the morning, you've had a shower and everything, they're clean. Like, I'm just walking on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got to be careful of sharps, glass, and all that, but most places are pretty clean these days, so it's not. You just got to get over the bad looks.
Shouldn't care what people think, at least for a little bit. Hey, and last thing I would like to talk about, you have a running workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you that think, hey, I'm going to try and stand on one leg for 1 minute, I'm going to try and get barefoot shoes, I'm going to do everything that has been recommended, but I would like to do even more. Can you tell me a little bit about your running workshop? First of all, what you do, what the aim is, how you can even access the running workshop. Yep. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, cool. So running workshop, very passionate about. Like we said before, 70 to 75% of runners are getting injured, and there's something going wrong with that. And it's basically because we are very inefficient at running. We should be the most efficient runners out there, but because of our sedentary lifestyle, crappy shoes, it's caused poorer technique.
Yeah.
Which allows us to basically invent our own new technique with a heel strike. because
which is ineffective, which
So
causes a
ineffective.
whole lot of problems.
Yeah, so the main thing behind heel strike is you're landing your foot in front of your center of mass. And when that connects to the ground, you're actually creating a braking force which goes the opposite way.
Yeah.
So
So it's less locomotion, less
Big
moving
time.
forward.
It's basically like trying to run with the handbrake on.
Yeah.
It's not efficient at all. And all that load, that compressive load we're talking about earlier, is going through a straight ankle, straight knee, straight hip, straight back.
300 kilos every single time ramming in your knee,
Mhm.
causing problems.
The best way to show, for an example, is try and hop on one leg and land on your heel. You're going to fall backwards. It's not going to be comfortable unless you're wearing your cushion shoes. And you're not balanced. And then now hop forward and land on your forefoot.
Yeah.
It's underneath the body, underneath center of gravity. You've got that balance there, and it propels you forward. It wants to keep you going. So the whole concept behind the running workshop is to get you running as efficient as possible. We go through 7 different steps. We'll look at your posture, your center of mass or your lean, your foot strike, your foot recovery, your cadence, your arm position, and then we talk about light feet, which is all about being barefoot. What we tend to do, what we do is do a video before and after, so you can basically see where you started and where you've ended up, and like 99% of clients I've had, there's some kind of change. Now, all those 7 steps will not apply to everybody. There's always going to be 1 or 2 things to work on, and it normally does come down to the foot strike and foot recovery is the big thing, and that will just help take away a lot of strain on the body, get you enjoying running again. Because most people, when they run, they don't enjoy it. They run because they have to.
Yeah, they feel pain, annoyance,
Exactly,
irritation.
yeah. And it's tough on the body. And by getting the efficiency back, you actually put smiles on people's faces. And when you can see the difference between the before and after video, like the before video is really sluggish, shuffling through, and then you see people afterwards that they actually look like they want to run. Their body's like, oh, this is awesome.
Do you maybe have a story of someone that came in a certain way and why your program was completely changed? Do you have anything you can tell about that?
Not massively changed, but just the small nuances in a lot of people is very similar. Like I say, 90% of people come in and have the heel strike, and there's no like big wow story, but it's pretty cool just to see the differences you can do in an hour.
Yeah, you have passion, so that's...
Yeah, exactly. So, and then that it attributes to everything you do. Like, yes, we do CrossFit workouts, and they can help with a 200-meter run. But then people doing 5, 10, 15 marathon, Ks and that will help overall. So it doesn't matter if you're just jogging, sprinting, or long distance. It all is exactly the same. We should all run the same way.
You move way more efficiently, less pain, more control.
Yeah, and longer and happier.
Yeah.
So that's the main premise on the workshop. And like I said, we always tend to get results from it, and it's pretty straightforward. It's not rocket science. It's more taking things away than adding things in.
So let's say someone hears you talk and thinks, yes, I want to do it.
Yep, cool. So the best thing to do is go to probably my website, www.melbournesoft-tissue.com.au, or hit me up on Instagram, which is Melbourne_soft-tissue. There's links there in the bio towards the workshop, or just hit me a message on 0439202659 and go from there. Yeah, there's a few different ways to get it, and yeah, be good to hear from you.
Any kind of other medium you can be contacted on, or?
They're the 3 best ones. Also, look up Facebook, Melbourne Soft Tissue Therapy. Just Google it. You'll get everything on the Google. So Melbourne Soft Tissue Therapy is the easiest way to go.
So to finish it off, what would you like to give people that have been listening up to this point? What would you like to tell them to take them home, or something they can try? Just generalize it.
I think that behind the whole chat we just had is like getting back to being human. Like taking your shoes off, standing up more, and using your body. Because there's so much potential hidden in the body that you could easily find. And it doesn't matter what age you are. Like muscles know no age. You could start exercising at 65 and be awesome straight away.
Yeah, just takes a little while longer,
of course,
a little bit more effort, but still.
But everyone can improve something.
Yeah.
No one is amazing. Like there's always something that can get better.
Yeah.
And by starting moving, you can find it out. So start exploring. Be your own scientist in your body. No one can tell you what to do. You know your body more than anyone else. So
yeah, it's the only one you've got. Always with you.
Yeah, start playing.
Okay, Mick, I'd like to thank you for the chat. I think people have something to work on.
Thanks very much.
Okay, let's